I had to manually do it myself. I don't know what happened there.
Hi,
Smokey,
Smokey.
he is fighting for his life right now because
What?
the cat is outside the window and it is ticking him off.
Is it that
Yes.
old cat that looks like it's hanging on by a thread? So,
Yes.
so
Yes. She has three cats. Three cats. Smokey. Like he's known her for 10 years now.
that's
But
wild.
yeah. Well, here's why. She
What?
snuck into the house just now
Uh,
and she went into his bed.
oh my gosh, unacceptable.
Yeah, so he is like he's so mad.
It
Makes me giggle.
makes me giggle as well when they have like their own little interior like domestics going on.
They do. It's so funny because she purposely, just him, she purposely does things to piss him off. Like it's her favorite thing to do. And he falls for it every time. She
Glorious.
gets along with the other dogs just fine, but it's these two just, they got beef.
How funny.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
they
I'm
got
just
problems.
cackling at your video that you sent me about, listen, I got excited for a moment. I was like, that looks official. What are we on some list? Angela
Yes,
sent
I
me a
know.
video that we were on some podcast list. And
We
then
were
I,
the top 25.
mm,
Top 25. And I was like, oh, what is, yeah, I got all big headed for a second. I was like,
yeah,
wait a
yeah.
minute. Did we just like win something? Like, were we an exceptional whatever? And it was like top 25 persuasion podcasts. I'm like, okay, frick you, you got me.
It's giving AI information collection.
Yeah, I was like, just click this link. I'm like,
But
bitch,
you know
whatever.
what? Whatever. I'ma take it. Happy top 25 persuasion podcast, my friend.
Yes, we did it.
We did it. You know what? It's like when you get trolled or whatever. Lately I'm just like I'm not offended by it. I'm like, we still got chosen.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Well, I mean, to this day, and I need to get better at this personally. I've let this slack a little bit, but like we used to get a lot every time we would
Yep.
post on the pub persuasion, we would get like check your Smokey for the Smokey. Come here. Smokey. He
Listeners,
scared the shit out of me.
I
Hold
saw
him.
that your soul left your body.
He scared the shit out of me. I gotta hold
Hey,
myself
naughty boy. Listen,
down.
Smokey, if you can't see, is Angela's dog, a very cute schnauzer type model
He's
breed.
not cute. It's fine. He's not cute. He's actually, if you bark, I'm going to murder you. Smokey, go to your kennel. Hey, go to your kennel. Go on. Go to your kennel.
Smokey
Go on.
Mama's recording. It's time for you to exit.
Are you going to sit here then? Okay, then you sit. Um, I don't remember what I was saying.
We used to get lots of spam, I think you were saying.
Yes, yes, and we would go for it because we would be like, "Hey, this is comments, like this is people, we're having interactions." And
Don't
so we
group
would do
me
the
into it. Don't group me into it. We did not go for it. I was like, when you emailed me about it, I was like, girl, this looks like 20 emails I already got. Once it was something legit, and that time I think I ignored them and we missed out.
oh, you just never know, Smokey, look at me. Go to your kennel. Go.
What a
Kennel.
little troll, Smokey. Actually, Goose is being a good girl for once.
Well, that's good.
What's in the corner there? Is that like a little potbelly stove type thing?
Oh, yeah. It's our stove, our pellet stove.
So cute. Do you use it?
Thank you. Yeah, it's on right now, actually. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, where's the smoke going? Or it just.
Oh, here, let me see if I can move this. See, it's in the wall. Isn't that cute? So,
So
it
it's
feeds
real.
on, yeah, so it feeds pellets. So they're like little like wood chip things. And it
Yeah.
just like feeds it in slowly and then it has a fire.
That's glorious. And it just sucks the smoke out through a vent.
Yeah, because it has like a fan. It's all very mechanical. It has a
Wow.
fan and it like takes it
I've
outside.
never
Yeah.
heard of that, like a pellet
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I'm happy for
Well, now you know. Now you
you.
know.
Well, welcome to the show. Dear
Yeah,
listener.
yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Of the Publishing Persuasion. I'm Angela Montoya, author of Sinner's Isle and A Cruel Thirst, Carnal Fantastico, and I am here with Melanie Schubert, author of many things now. She's got Severed Cape, baby.
Author of
What are you laughing at?
I'm just thinking about what I'm actually the author of that's going to be published. Author of Ripped Dicks and Stolen Brains.
Put that in your bio right now. Oh, well, you probably can't, can you?
I don't know, but it sounds
You
pretty
should.
lit.
It sounds exactly like who you are. Author of Riptychs and Stolen Brains.
Yeah.
And then also like super sweet, beautiful love stories as well.
Balance, my friend. Balance.
Yes,
The light cannot exist without the dark or whatever.
that is
Um,
true. Oh, I have, and I don't know if we have time for an extra episode because I know we don't because we probably have many episodes, but there is a book that I feel like we need to read.
oh my God.
I've been hearing about this book.
Is
It's
that a
called,
smutty one?
yeah, it's called Air Peen.
I will make time for an extra episode, my friend. Give me the airpeen at once.
Yeah. I think what I if I recall what my friend told me about it, it was the airplane seat is sentient.
Mm, I'm
I
there.
don't I believe that's what she said. So might I just throw that into the hat for us? Yeah.
Yep, throw it into the
Yeah.
hat, send it my way. I'm slowly accumulating a little shelf of our books that we did smart episodes from. Randomly, my extra copy of Sinner's Isle is on that is on that shelf there.
Feels right. Feels right. I actually have my I I still have her right here.
Oh
My
yeah,
Santa
right
Claus.
there. It's honestly some of my most cherished tomes, these little smut novels.
Yeah. The
Which
Santa Claus
reminds
one was really great.
It was great. I'm ready for airpeen. I will Google it and we will buddy read.
Good. Yes. I think it's gonna have to be a thing because I've
Good
heard some
things.
goods. Yeah. Good and bad things.
Ooh, that's the
Mhm.
perfect mix.
Yes. Balance. Balance.
Yes. Speaking
Yeah.
of peens, you seem to be
Okay.
getting a lot of sugar daddy peens in your DMs. Do they
I
send
do.
you dick pics or they just send you that? Because I was seeing in your
No.
stories you had another person be
Yes.
like, "Hello, my dear. I love the advance apology. Either like commit or don't. Like you want to
Yeah.
connect with someone, why are you apologizing? Just be like,
Yeah.
let's
If you're gonna DM me, old man,
connect."
if you're gonna DM me, like don't be like, hey, I can I ask you a question? Like, don't
Mm.
start that. Like, just hit me. Hey, I've got $5,000 for because I've gotten those ones. I have $5,000. I don't want anything in return, just a little bit of your time and a smile my way. And I'm like
Is
tempted.
that what I was literally the reason I was bringing it up is I was so curious, like how, like what's the worst or like the most interesting that you get? That's
Yeah.
pretty forward. Like,
Yeah, and I prefer those to me. I
yeah.
want to know what I'm worth to them. I want to know what the ticket price is here.
$5,000 for a
Yeah.
smile is all right.
It's all right, but I feel like I could do better. I'm like,
You should have
time,
said how much for a pinky toe. You should have told him you can fly the bird with your middle toe. That's surely worth like a couple
That's
grand
true.
at least.
Oh, I could be a celebrity, I think, on whatever certain spaces. I think I could. Yeah, I had a friend one time, and I don't remember who it was, but said that I should reply in character as Santiago from Sinner's Isle. And I was like, oh,
Yes.
that's genius. But I never did. It's too much effort for me on these things. But luckily, so a lot of these ones I actually get on TikTok.
Yeah.
And what's nice, I mean, it's nice when it's strangers, but it also kind of sucks when it's your friends, but you can't
Yeah.
send
Wait, which
pictures.
which is your friend? Ah, separate conversation.
Yeah, separate conversation. But like Yeah, separate,
Not your
separately.
friends being like, sent me toe pics.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'll start getting those now. No, but like, say if you're on TikTok and you're speaking to a friend and you're
Yeah,
like, oh, I want to show you this picture. Let me DM you. You can't DM pictures. At least I can't. I don't know.
really.
Yeah. So luckily, when I get these private messages
Ah, no dick
from,
pics come.
yeah, thankfully,
Gotcha.
um, so I've been
I
spared
Yeah,
thus.
luckily.
Yeah.
But you have to share with us if you ever get any interesting ones. I agree. I tend to just like when you get so like email, I tend to get a lot of email spam and just ignore it. Or like telemarketers, my phone actually tells me this time, but my husband Phil loves it. Well, I guess because he's a truck driver, so he's got long drives, but he has fun. Like one time this guy rang and he was like, he wanted to install fans. He's like, we're gonna give you free replacements for your pool fans. And Phil did this whole allow. He just was like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "That's amazing. I was just gonna change the pool fans." He's like, and
As
the
one
guy was,
does. Yeah.
"Yeah, yeah." And the guy was like, "Great." He's like, "Where would they be?" And then Phil was like, "But we've got 15." And the guy was like 15. I don't even know what pool fans are. And he's like, yeah, he's like, we've got one in this place and one in this place and one in this place. It just took him on this whole journey. The guy could not believe how many fucking fans we had for ventilation.
It's a big
But
pool. Big pool.
yeah, but so he finds it fun to like spin his own story, I guess, and enjoy the moment. But I don't know, I can't. I find it like I don't know. I like to hear the stories after of what he's done, but
Yeah, I will get too nervous. Even if it's like I could care less, but I'm still like, oh,
yeah,
can't do it.
totally. And even though they're often rude, I still sometimes feel bad. I'm like, well, they're just doing their job and whatever. Although, yeah, sometimes they're like super rude and aggressive as well. So it's like
Yes. Yes. So we just don't answer phones
I just
anymore.
don't answer. My phone reads most of the numbers and it'll be like suspected scam and I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. None of that for me. Yeah. I don't answer
Nah.
nothing.
It stresses me
Sometimes,
out. And
yeah.
also, who even like it's even if it doesn't get picked up by the spam thing, if it's not a number I recognize and I'm not expecting a call from somewhere specific, I'm just like, who's calling me?
Yeah. We're
You
not ready
know?
for that.
We're not
Yeah.
ready for that.
I need to hear a voicemail or a text after and be like, hey, this is Sally from the school. Then I'll be like, okay, I can
Literally.
talk to Sally.
That's
But if
my
Sally's trying
theory.
to talk to me like just about life, I'm like, I'm not answering.
I also agree with this sentiment. But back to
Text me,
text
Sally.
me. If that, like, I'm convinced that if it's important, they'll leave a voice note, they'll email you, or they'll text you. Like, people who just pick up the phone and call, what is that even about? You know?
In 2025, unless we know you and it's that's who you are and we're like, okay, we get it.
That's
But in
true.
2025, I'm not just picking up a phone call.
No, absolutely not. But you
I've
know
been
what I
through too
do want
much.
to pick up?
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that was a bad segue because I don't know where it's going. I do want to pick up a copy of Carnival Fantastico as soon
Uh
as, well, see, the segue went nowhere. I was trying to get to the fact that we're going to have a cover reveal soon. Is that correct? I
that's
saw yon
semi
post.
it's semi correct.
Is it?
I I don't know. Usually I think we do cover reveal like 9 months before pub day.
Okay.
So
Oh,
we
you were just
probably have a
teasing
solid,
us because you put
yeah.
up your art and you were like, cover reveal coming soon. And I was like, wait,
I said
what?
ish. I did a dot 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 ish. So ish. Yeah. No, we've got a few months. We've got a few months.
Don't give me
I'm
ish. That
sorry.
was a cover tease and you know it.
It was. I'm sorry to come to tease you with my
But you
cover
know what? It
tease.
goes past in no time. Like A Cruel Thirst is on our shelves now, you know? Like who
Yeah.
would have thought? I mean, we not who would have thought, but like last year, like you said, it felt like a while away, and then here she is. Somehow
Yeah.
time goes on.
It does. It's interesting this third time around. Um, doesn't feel, I don't know. It feels nice because I
Yeah.
just don't feel stressed about much because I'm like, well, I'm not gonna this time around. And even with the Cruel Thirst, it was not as bad, but I'm
Mm.
not gonna go overboard with feeling like I have to market myself and do all the
Mm.
things and say yes to everything. Because at the end of the day, for me, as just an author who has a moderate to small following,
Mm.
like there's only so much I can do. So I'm not gonna kill myself to
That's it.
market something. Um, and as much as I love the things and I'd love everybody to read them, it's not my job. And
Yeah.
I am a bad bitch and I do not need to do this to myself anymore. If whatever, if whoever wants
No.
publishing, you do you, boo. You do
Yeah.
your work. I'll be here doing my own thing, but I'm not going nuts
Yeah.
like I did with Sinners Out because it's not doesn't doesn't do that much. So I'm gonna keep
Mm.
doing my thing here, meeting friends, being happy, enjoying my life because it's not worth it.
I agree. And well, I agree in half. I do think it does much, but I don't think that like it's common for there to be this one viral tweet or whatever. But what I think is your legacy and your continuous showing up slowly builds that giant monument over time.
Hmm.
And I think that's why it's so crucial to only show up in a way that's like long distance, like ma
Yes.
manageable and sustainable long term. So whereas, like, at one point, I think we were both putting so much pressure on ourselves to post content because any one of those things could be, I don't know, you have this like pressure in your head that's just like, just one more, just one more. I just got to like this. I've just got to do this. And it's actually excruciating and there's no like end to it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
That's
I
very well said.
yeah, I think that like I don't think it's wasted what you're doing now. Like you're still making content. You're still showing up. You're still promoting your book. It's just you're not doing 20 years of work in 1 month. It's
Yes.
just pacing yourself, I think, is like or at least that's how I'm trying to frame it now, where I'm just like, because sometimes I'm just like, oh, like I'm not doing enough right now and whatever. And then I'm like, got a fucking podcast that we do every week. And even that, no, we don't have thousands and thousands of plays every fucking day. But ultimately, it's more than it was last year. It's more than it was the year before. And it's brought people into our lives that we actually care about and that we actually like are interested in, excited to support. And yeah, the growth is slow but steady. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's it. I think that for I'm just speaking for you now.
No,
We've
I
both
like it. I like where you're going. I appreciate it. I do. I concur.
yeah, we've both just realized that like that's what I want anyway. Like even if something did hit that like viral TikTok moment, a lot of the that flood can turn on you in an instant.
Oh my gosh. Yes. We've seen it happen. We've seen it
Literally.
happen. Yes. No, no, exactly what you said. It's exactly right. It's like when we first started, it feels like we were rushing and like, oh, okay, we got to get all of these things. But now it's like you realize it isn't like this sprint. It is
No.
this long term, steady, fast walk,
That's it.
and you need to take the breaks and you need to hydrate and you need to take care of yourself and have your protein. I don't know what walkers do, but you need to do those things. Okay. And yeah, so it's not this like constant, like, because
That's
you
it.
will, you will die. It will
Literally. And a
die.
lot of those, like, I don't want to jinx anyone, but a lot of those flavor of the month people are just flavor of the month. And if you don't actually have the practice and the community and the, like, I don't know, the mental fortitude that you build
Hmm.
doing something continuously, then once that flood is gone, you'll find a lot of people, it's like a one book wonder or like a one song wonder type situation because if the other stuff isn't in place, then what do you have to fall onto? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I do. Yeah. And a lot of that is truly community. I mean, and that was
Yeah.
what even Vanessa was saying when we interviewed her. And I love that. Like this is the best part of it all
Mm.
is having these conversations. It is
Literally.
meeting amazing, amazing human beings. Because I find many, I'm not gonna say all, but many writers are so compassionate and
Yeah.
like empathetic, and they have such beautiful open souls. And so it's like a really great industry to just be a part of. It's funny because even the other day I was kind of just feeling overwhelmed. Not even, I don't know. I was just like, oh, maybe a few more books in me, and then that's probably it. And
Mm.
then I started thinking, well, like, okay, well, then what? Because all my friends are in publishing, and like I love it so much. And I was like, well, what the hell would I do with my life? And I was like, ah, you know what? I'll just keep going. Never mind.
I mean, you can always take a break if you feel like your soul needs it, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of whatever, travel, just doing nothing, you know? Sometimes it's so underrated, just like even like that little break that we took, it wasn't anything groundbreaking. And there was a lot of moments where I just lay on the bed or just lay on the beach and just stared at nothing for a
Love that.
long while. You know, it's not like we were like filling every moment with activities or like, you know, it was just very much, yeah, like a reset. And that sometimes is necessary too when you've been hustling for so long. But personally, I don't know how you could th ever think that you only have like a few books in you when your brain is constantly popping off with new ideas. You know?
She is. Oh my God. I'm not lying. For the first time ever, Melanie, I came up with an idea for like a regular, not regular, but non-fantasy romance.
Do
And I
it.
was like, how would I've
Yes.
never,
What
not
do you
once
mean
in my
how?
whole I mean, but I've never not once thought of anything but fantasy. And
Yeah, but
so it
what do
just
you
like came.
watch? You watch everything. You watch
I
all
do.
genres. So
I
it's,
do.
I'm not surprised at all. I think that your brain is just a storytelling brain and yeah, like if you need a break at some point, you need a break. But I just, from how much what I know of you as a human, I think you'll never stop telling stories, whether that's in books, whether you found a different outlet to do that. Like you're always going to be dreaming up something. And the moment you have a break, something else will bombard your brain and you'll be like, well, shit, I have to write that somewhere. And you already have made this beautiful platform and community, so you might as well keep some tendrils in, even if you decide you want to break.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for knowing me.
Yeah,
I
I
do.
just think
I
that
do.
brain is full of so many stories that they would. I mean, isn't that what drew both of us to writing in the first place? These stories were just bubbling, like listening to Vanessa and chatting about. I felt quite emotional listening to her talk about her grandma. And I was
Mm.
just like, that would have been us at like in a different lifetime, I think. I don't
Hmm.
think we would have not been telling stories. I think we would have just been using whatever medium we could have to tell them. And yeah, like back in caveman times, I'm sure there would have been some Montoya stories on the, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think anything would have stopped. I just think some people are wired like that and we see the world in story and we tell ourselves like little parables to dissect life, to make sense of life. And once you realize that sharing that helps someone else, then it becomes addictive to share that, whatever those little big stories are. You want to share it with people because you're a beautiful person and you want to make life a bit lighter for other people around you. And I don't think that will change, you know, whatever you do.
That's beautiful.
You're
I got a little
beautiful.
emotional when you were talking about you being emotional about what Vanessa was saying because I stared thinking like of us as old ladies and just like
Me too. Can you imagine us? We'd be like bottling our tomato sauce or something, like, oh, I don't know what it would be, but like, did you grow up doing any stuff like that? Because like we definitely like when I was younger, we did a lot more like Croatian type stuff. I shouldn't do air commas, but I don't know for sure if it was like where the tradition came from. But like we'd literally like well, because my family, both sides, came from like extreme poverty in Croatia. So they had all these like street and forest smarts about them. So like
Mm.
we'd literally go into the like forest in the middle of nowhere and like harvest mushrooms. Or like we'd find like somehow they would find patches of rosehip. Do you have rosehip over there? Mostly
I'd
it's made into
imagine.
tea. It's a
Okay.
type of, the rose leaves behind
Yeah.
this bulb. There's
Yeah.
a wild type that grows and it leaves heaps of bulbs. There's
Oh.
hardly any meat on that bulb, right? Which is why it's usually made into tea. But we would like, and they still do it. They'll harvest heaps of rosehip and then you cook it down and you push it through this machine and it's like 95% seeds and you get a little jar of jam out of rosehip.
Some work. That was some work.
It
Is
was
it good at least?
uh yes, it's very sticky and very sweet. If it's your thing, it's like so prized because it's so hard to get. The flavor's incredible. Like it's both like almost like if you mixed raspberries and the flavor of rose together
Oh,
and
I
maybe
love
even
that.
cranberry. So it's very tart and very, well, I guess they put a lot of sugar in it to
Uh,
balance the tart. I think it's comparable almost to a cranberry. Like on its own, you wouldn't just sit there and eat rose hips. But yeah, sorry, I went on a side quest, but I could picture us picking rose hips
I was
together.
listening. I wanted to know about this.
Did you ever do any stuff like that growing up?
Did I forage in the forest for rose hips and mushrooms? No.
Yeah.
No, but like a tradition we have is like with my step grandmother, we would
Yeah.
make tamales together. So
Oh,
the best. Oh my God. And it's a
what
long process.
is that?
And so it's just a lot of like it's usually all the ladies and you're just in the
Yeah.
kitchen just BSing
Yeah.
and talking shit and all of that stuff. And that was one of my those are some of my favorite like childhood
Mm,
memories. It's like all the smells and just all of those fun things. And
yeah.
my grandfather Jose was a very um very eccentric man. He
Yeah.
was really, well, again, we talk about superstitions and like
Yeah.
traditions. He, in his backyard, had a tent that the elders, the men, would go into and they would smoke different things
Oh yeah.
and have visions and discussions. And I just always remember when I was at his house and whenever we would like all get together, I would be like, someday I'm getting in that damn tent.
Yeah.
Someday. Um, but he'd always come out and like tell us the different things he had learned and the adventures he had gone on during these trips
Yeah.
through the tent. And yeah, so a lot of different interesting, beautiful, sometimes scary stories
Yeah.
to be
Literally.
told. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so
But no, yeah,
fascinating.
never foraging. Not
Never
much foraging in
foraging.
the
I have
city.
very
Yeah.
fond memories of foraging for mushrooms, and I fell down a mushroom hole at one point and I would like research them all. But then I read stories about people.
Oh, hold on. I thought you actually fell down a mushroom hole.
No, no, like
I was like,
when I
damn,
was a
what kind of
kid.
mushrooms do you guys have there?
No, like when I was a kid, I would like go to the library and like book out all the books on mushrooms and then I would research them all with the plan. I had it in my head I wanted to be able to survive off the land if I had to. So I actually
Yes.
found those parts of growing up very like, I mean, I didn't love sitting there for I would just like escape as a kid and go play with the chickens. Well, they did the rose hip stuff mostly, but the mushroom foraging like branded in my head. And like some of them that we picked, it looks like you couldn't eat it. Like there's one called Lysycharke, but that's made it into the mainstream. That one is like bright orange. It's got a
Oh,
bright orange trumpet, and when you cut it, it turns green or blue. It's actually poisonous raw.
I mean, it sounds like it is. Yeah.
But cooked, it's highly prized as like a wild mushroom. And but the one that always blew my mind is, well, I think we called it vergagna, and it's like brown and slimy on the top, which is not very appealing.
Yum. Delicious.
Underneath, it's like sulfur yellow, but
Even
like a
better.
sponge, little holes.
Mm.
You would never think you can eat it.
Uh-uh.
And to be honest, I would never trust myself that I'm picking the right one. I would trust myself to pick Lisichadke, but I wouldn't trust myself to pick anything else. But even that, because if you pick the wrong fucking mushroom, there's
Yeah.
stories of people like taking their family out. Like, to be
Yes.
fair,
I
there was one
watched
in
it.
the UK that I think she did it on purpose.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
Did
Yeah,
you
that's
hear
not good.
about that?
No, the mushroom killer? I did
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first it was like I only read about it recently, but it happened a few years ago. And at first it was like this great tragedy. This lady fed her whole family
Oh
these
my
mushrooms that
God.
she harvested, and it was like one of the most toxic mushrooms, and they all died. But then later I think, at least the story I read, there's a few. It happens more than you would want because people pick the wrong
Yikes.
mushrooms. They don't know what they're doing,
Yeah.
and some
Or
of them are
just are
just so deadly.
psychopaths. Yeah. Yeah.
Or yeah.
That could have been a great of the anthology that you're gonna be in.
No.
That could have been.
Yeah, I'll
I
definitely do
when
something.
yeah, when Vanessa brought up the embalming fluid, I was like, of course. Of freaking course.
I am obsessed with her. Honestly,
Yeah.
she's such a fascinating person. And I find those conversations really fascinating. I'm very interested lately to hear um how people have perceived the myths and legends and whatever that they've grown up with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's digging deep. She
She's
wants to
digging deep.
know.
And it's not
Yes.
like, like for me, when I say that I don't really believe it, any of it, what I mean is I think mostly people are bullshit artists and mostly people are very good. And not even that. I think fear is contagious and so is uh like if you tell someone you saw something or whatever, and there's a lot of tents with a lot of things being smoked as well, so mostly I
Yes.
think it's creativity, but there's also like I totally think there's so much unexplained shit that we don't know as well. I just think that
Yes.
humans have a tendency to take this and twist it into a whole bunch of and then use it for stuff, but I think that's just the experience that I've grown up with, which is why I'm so fascinated to hear, and why I've been so drawn to like Japanese culture, because it's not like that. It's not like a fear-based belief system.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that because it's so true how different cultures experience and look at death.
Yes.
And to many, it's this beautiful thing that's not to be feared. It's to be embraced and
Mm.
to be honored. And for it feels like Western culture, it is something to be feared, and
Mm-hmm.
it's you're going to hell.
Yep.
So bitch, you better start. So it's like a very different viewpoint based
Yes.
off of like where you are in the world. So yeah.
I
And
love
for
that you
me,
brought that up.
good. I'm glad. Thank you. Appreciate that.
For you, what were you
No,
gonna say?
no, I was just gonna say, for me, like you were saying how you naturally are closed off to those sort of things, or you're more skeptical. Not me.
I'm
That's my
skeptical of
problem.
people. I'm skeptical of
Ah,
people. If
okay.
I were to see
Yes.
something, I'd be like, oh yeah, there it is. Do you know what I
Yeah. See,
mean?
yes, I am not that way. I hear something and I'm like, of course there's aliens. Like I hear it
I used to be
and
like
I'm
that.
like, yeah. See, I'm automatically like, yes, I am. She has ghosts,
Mm.
and I'm not going there.
I think because of the chokehold that conservative fundamental religion had on me when I was younger, um, and the process I went through to be able to deconstruct so much of that, I'll always approach stuff with a healthy dose of I see the people behind this.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any kind of agenda or anything, but it's not that I don't listen to my friends' stories with like and think like they're bullshit artists or whatever. I'm like, wow, like I'm interested, but in even that I'm a skeptic, I think that I wouldn't be like afraid of it if I didn't think there was the potential that some of the stories are real, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but that said, again, that's why I'm interested in learning about it from different angles because I think that fear is projected onto us from people who found it fearsome. I'm very interested to yeah, these other like you said with about death. Man, I grew up with crippling moment by moment fear and existential crisis about that, especially when religion is like, if you don't follow this set of rules, and nobody can really follow them, it's nobody can really stick to that, you
Like,
know,
bitch, you're screwed.
you're
Yes.
screwed.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
I found so much peace in like in especially like Japanese and like Chinese beliefs and like or like but so many other cultures that like you said they're not constantly driven by it. Nobody wants to die. But like there's this hysteria about it from certain angles, from certain people, whatever. That just like you just can't live like that. It's so ferocious. And yeah,
Yeah.
so I
I
do find
wonder too if that even like, and I know this is separate, but even could lead into sort of a panic disorder because you're constantly
yes.
bombarded by all of these terrible thoughts of like, I could
Yeah.
die at any moment.
100% it feeds in. I believe, and from my therapy, I 100% believe that a lot of that stuff, as a highly sensitive child that I am, 100% it fed in. The irony is that the people who feed into that think if you were just closer to the religion and God, you wouldn't have it. The irony of that is so wild. But anyway, like, we could talk about, I see we have 2 minutes left. So, do you have the bio there?
Yes, yes, I do.
I
Well,
feel
I
like
don't,
we
but I'm
just
getting
got
it.
started on a mega yarn.
We got started. We never I don't even know where we went this time. But yes, let me read Vanessa's bio because Vanessa is just a badass, which you're gonna hear. You're gonna know.
Mm,
Vanessa L Torres is a Mexican American author, an adventure seeker, and a mom to a flashlight under the covers reader. She is a 30-year veteran of the fire service and is equally proud to call herself an author. Her debut young adult novel, The Turning Point, released in 2022. When she's not writing, she balances her time between anything outdoors and spending time with her family close to home in the beautiful Pacific Northwest.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's such a
Yes.
badass, such an
Yes.
interesting person.
She is. She's so interesting. I love that we got to have her on and just hear all about her, learn
Yeah.
everything.
And that's why we're having these side quest big conversations because she started it.
Yeah, it's her fault
It's
actually.
her fault. But I love it. I love these chats and I think we all think about this stuff at some point. But yeah.
Yes. Oh, real fast. I started watching the X-Files last night. It's so good. I'm on an alien kick. What do you want me to tell you?
I'm into it and I'm not like I'm just it's not that I'm a complete skeptic, it's that I will never again believe somebody's full model that they have created without evidence. I love hearing about it all. I love hearing
Yes.
about all of this, but I'm not going to conduct shrines to the aliens until they come. When they come, if they come, we'll talk. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at
Yes.
with all of the unknown stuff, you know? And personally,
Yes.
like you, I'd rather not fuck around and find out.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. Can you hear us? Can you see us? Everything's good?
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining us. This is awesome, especially the day after the big pub day. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. I have the
Yeah.
ray of light and I can't get rid of it. I don't know.
It's
It's from the light
magical.
up there, but yeah.
No,
Yes.
it
I
feels
love
right.
it.
Angela has orb ghosts that float past occasionally, which are dust. But
Oh,
but you know.
I love ghosty houses.
Yes, it's ghosty. It's not dusty, it's ghosty.
I have a ghosty house too. Like there are people who won't stay here without me.
Really?
Wait
Hmm.
a minute. Can we get in on this? Because
Yeah.
I need to know more. Like,
I've always lived in ghosty houses though. Like this is not new for me. But yeah,
really?
like stuff like this, I'm in my basement right now, so it's like it's a whole apartment down here separate from our house. And it's my, writing studio, but there's a bedroom. And when people stay here, they always swear that someone's moving furniture around upstairs, like they can hear it dragging across the floor. And
Oh my gosh.
every once in a while, we will rent out short term down here, and people always say they hear a party in the middle of the night, like people having a party. Like it's really faint, but it's like laughter and the noise of a party, like just weird things like that.
Yes. And but you said you've always, so like every house pretty much you've been in? Or
Not every house, but when I lived in San Francisco, our house was definitely haunted. And we rented to a college student downstairs, and she would come upstairs crying sometimes because she was so freaked out.
oh
Really?
my
But
gosh.
that one would like, there was a spot in the kitchen, like in Poltergeist, and we had it taped off, where if you stood there too long, it felt like you were getting sucked underneath the cabinets, and it would leave like weird numbers on the microwave and turn on and off the TV. And then we had the shadow man. Everybody saw the shadow man. You would kind of see him from the corner of your eye. And then all the corners were chewed, like of all the doors and stuff. And you would see this little kind of look like a shadow little dog or something running around sometimes.
Wow.
Very weird.
And how
Yeah.
did you feel like living in those spaces? Are you like a friend of the friendly ghoul or it unsettled you?
It never unsettled us. And my mom's from a very ghosty family, like grew up doing the Ouija board, and so did I. And so like all of her, she has five sisters, and they would all do the Ouija board together. And so I grew up doing the Ouija board with all my aunties
Mm.
and my sisters. And so we always, I don't know, and we were never freaked out. And we researched that house in San Francisco, and it was just built on an old sand dune, what used to, because it was close to the beach. Yeah, in the Sunset District. So,
Oh, interesting. I find this interesting lately because something I've noticed is I find a lot of other cultures and religions have that, especially like I'm obsessed with Japanese culture. And there's this like kind of relationship with like they have so many demons and yokai and everything, but there's never this sense of like I don't know. It's everybody has a healthy respect of it, but I
yeah.
grew up like very conservative and we were like very much fear-based with that.
Uh-huh.
So I find it fascinating to hear everyone else's like upbringing and beliefs and how that felt to them growing up.
Yeah. Yeah,
This
the Mexican side of my family was much more superstitious, even though my grandmother told me all sorts of scary stories all the time that she believed. Like magical realism was my grandmother. Like you never really
Wow.
knew if what she was telling you she was real or not, but she certainly believed it was, and she was a very passionate oral storyteller. So, I mean, that's where I learned about the legend of La Lechuza. It was from my grandmother. So,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yes, I love that. No, I've always been so intrigued, but from a distance.
Yes.
I watch all my shows. Like I love Ghost Adventures and the Dead File. Like I watch every show from, but I stay here
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
I want to know everything, but from afar.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
yeah,
you're not a fuck around and find out kind of girl.
Oh,
Girl
really?
after
Yeah.
my own heart. I'm like, I don't actually believe a lot of it, but I always leave a grain of like, the world is a
Yeah.
wild, mysterious place, and I have a healthy respect for it all. You know what I mean?
yes, no,
Yeah.
I believe everything, and that's why I get scared of everything.
I guess I've had a couple patients in the past who were like clinically dead and then come back and totally tell me exactly what I was saying to them because I spoke to all my patients whether they had a heartbeat or not, and they would tell me exactly what I said to them. And I had one patient who was not alive when we had her in the trauma bay, and I was talking to her, and then I saw her 2 months later and I didn't recognize her. And she was passing me in the hospital, and she was like, "Oh, hey, wait a minute, Vanessa." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, I'm the girl whose horse fell on her." And she had like an open pelvic fracture. She was a mess. And I didn't think she made it out of the OR. And she's like, "I just want to thank you because you were the only one who told me your name out of everyone in that OR room." And she was dead when we were working her in there. And I had leaned down to her ear and told her everything was going to be okay. And we were doing everything that we could. And I introduced myself, and she remembered that.
Wow.
Wow. Is
So
this
just,
I read in your bio that you've been a firefighter for 30 years? Is that
Mhm.
correct? Is that
Yeah.
part of that work?
Yeah, they just rang me out, which means on Thursday, which means it's really emotional because they dispatch as if you're going to a call over the dispatch. They set the tones off, and then they say, "Vanessa Torres Polinsky, thank you for your service. The community thanks you. This is your last call. We will, take it from here." And then you ring this brass bell 3 times, and everybody's there. And yeah, I cried for like 2 days.
Wow.
It's been really an emotional week with the book and that. And
Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh, I can
gosh.
only imagine.
I
Yeah,
had
you've had a
retired
lot.
like a year ago, but I kept refusing to go in and ring the bell because I knew I would be a mess.
Mm.
So, it was very final. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Mm.
Wow. I can only imagine how touching that was. And it just feels that like final toll. Oh my goodness. And then the book comes out, and your
Yeah.
book is like so beautiful and
Thank you.
wonderful. And now you get to have readers have it in their hands. So congratulations
Thank
Yeah.
you.
on the release. I was lucky enough to read this book months ago, to blurb it, and even still, I still think about your characters and your storytelling. Yeah, so thank you for letting me. This is amazing.
Thank you for reading it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course.
And believing it.
Yeah, no, it's so stunning, and the freaking cover matches the insides.
Yeah, Monique is amazing. If I ever need another book cover, I hope they send a proposal to her because, yeah, she was amazing. And
Stunning.
she's a tattoo artist. That's what she does,
Oh
by
my
trade.
gosh.
So,
Well, we love her immediately. Tattoo
yeah,
artists are like the unsung heroes of the art world. Do you know what
they're a
I mean?
different
Like
breed.
their
Yeah.
art is just, I mean, those of us who worship them, we sing their praises. But I mean, like some of the art that they do is just, it needs to be in museums. But
It does. My 14-year-old daughter is learning how to tattoo. She's an apprentice, and she's learning. She's got a mentor.
what a
So
baddie.
they can't physically put a tattoo gun in her hand, but she has this simulator gun that vibrates, and she's doing all the art and on all the simulated skin and stuff. And yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with that.
Oh, me too. I can't draw at all. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, listen, I wanna we've dove right back into ghosts and ghouls and good tattoos. I wanna know a little bit about you. For those of our listeners who don't know, I don't know you very well, so I'm very excited to hear more. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, as I said before, I'm a 30-year veteran of the fire service. I've been a first responder actually since I was 21. And before that, I, went to school and waited a lot of tables and bartended and all those fun jobs that you do while you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life. And then I was working as a flight medic for a medical helicopter, and I was reading the Twilight series. And I was a little bit behind the game because everyone had already read them, but I decided like right then and there, I don't know what it was about Stephanie's books, but I just decided that that was something that I wanted to do. And I had a lot of downtime. And so I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to try and write a book. And so that's what started the whole novel writing thing. Yeah. And
You're
I,
such a badass.
Yeah.
Just have to interject.
oh,
You're a
gee.
badass.
Thank you. Some days I don't feel like it, but yeah. But
No,
yeah, and
you are.
I live in the Pacific Northwest. I have one daughter. She's 14, and she's way cooler than I'll ever be.
Mhm.
She's like a rock climber and a scuba diver and a skier, and she
Wow.
competes in mounted archery. So she shoots arrows from running horses. And like I said, she's way cooler than I'll ever be. And my husband is also a firefighter paramedic. So there is that level of camaraderie and understanding that we have within the family.
Mm. I don't know
Amazing.
about way cooler than you. Sounds like she's a chip off the old block, to be honest. You're like, I was just, a medical professional on this helicopter, and I've lived in this haunted house. I think the apple didn't fall far from the tree.
Everybody says that she wants to be a pararescuer in the Air Force, and which freaks me out a little bit. But everybody says I have no one to blame but myself for that venture,
Mm.
and they're probably correct.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. You
Yeah.
raised her well, is what it sounds like. Yeah.
She
So
believes she can do anything, which is
I
great.
love that.
Too.
Yes,
Yep.
please.
Hmm.
So I want to know, like, how did we get from, reading Twilight, deciding to try it, and now here we are, 2 books later. Like, tell us a little bit about your publishing journey.
Yeah, well, I started writing screenplays before I started reading Twilight. I had written a couple of screenplays and took college classes for that, and shopped them around, didn't get very far with that venture. And then wrote my first book, which was actually this book. Like 15 years ago, I
Oh
wrote
my
this book.
gosh.
And it is not the same book. I mean, the first draft was 150,000 words, way too long. It was very complicated. But I joined a critique group, shopped it around with agents, got some really good feedback. They loved my writing, but the plot needed so much work and it was way too long. And
Mm.
so I shelved it well, for a really long time. And then Prince died, and I'm from Minneapolis, and Prince has always been a huge part of my life. He was part of my coming of age, and he danced in the studio above mine when I was a dancer. And I had always wanted to write a book about that experience. And so that's what triggered writing The Turning Point, my debut. And I found an agent almost right away. I had several offers within the same week. And so then all of a sudden I went from like not knowing if this was going to happen to being in the driver's seat, which was very strange because I entered this business knowing nothing. Like I
Mm.
didn't know what I was doing. And found a wonderful agent, Louise Fury, and she has ties to Minneapolis and loves Prince. So she really connected with the book, which is exactly what you want, especially for your debut. And the book went to auction. It was like, again, the best case scenario. I couldn't have asked for more. And Penguin gave me the best offer. And here we are. And it sounds like it happened overnight, but it so didn't. And it's so crazy that this book is the book that my second book is the book that I wrote first. It's the first book I ever wrote. Yeah.
Mm. I have to jump back for a second because I I went to our get to know you, but I have to know what is the strangest thing you own?
Oh yeah. Um,
Just go back there.
you know, um, I have a bit of a dark side. Obviously, I've already
Oh,
revealed that.
yes.
So I have an old container of embalming fluid from the turn of the century.
That
Of
is
course you do.
yeah. That is
And I love
definitely the strangest answer so far. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
I found it in an antique store and it wasn't really for sale, but I like begged the guy to sell it to me. And I've had it since I was in my 20s. I used to want to be a medical examiner. And I loved the directions on it because it has all the directions for different kinds of embalming. And like for full cavity embalming, use the entire container. But if you just want to embalm certain parts, which I don't know, I guess why you would want to do that, you only use like a couple of capfuls. And um, it was just a blast from the past. And I love that sort of morbidity. I don't know. I just love um, anything that has to do with, I'm a little bit Wednesday, I think, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is
I'm here for it.
fascinating. There's definitely there's a shop in the city here, and you walk in and it's like they've gone there. Like there's all the insects pinned on the walls, there's all the little skulls and all the crystals and everything. And it is fascinating. Like your eye is just drawn to it, and it all feels like it has so much of its own soul and story. What a
Mhm.
cool thing to have.
I know. I always say I could never like I have some hunters in my family and I could never like shoot a deer, but I could
Mhm.
totally dress it. Like I could totally like
Oh,
gut it and take everything apart and
I
do
can
all
see
of
that
that.
about you.
Yeah. Just bring it to me after you kill it.
Yeah, you'd be all
That'll be
right if you were like
terrible. It's
trapped
so
on an island
possible.
or something and you had like a life-threatening reason to do it. You'd be sweet. You'd snap into like into the mode and you would just get
Survival mode. Yeah.
Well, speaking of survival mode, I think this is a perfect segue back into publishing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're constantly on
Yeah.
Yeah.
survival mode in publishing. Is there anything that you learned or that surprised you when you finally like got into the publishing world?
Yeah, like I said, I didn't know anything about like the process, I guess I would say. And you know how you see on TV, someone's like, "Oh, I want to write a book." And then they flash 6 months later and they're sitting at their signing, signing the books
Gosh.
6 months later. And
Yes.
I was really surprised at how long it takes to
Mhm.
get a book out there after there's an offer made. And also how many people actually have their hands on your book before it's out there. It's incredible the amount of people that it takes to put just one book out into the world. It's impressive, really. And if I think about it too much, it's a little bit scary, maybe. Makes me nervous because, of course, you want your book to resonate with everyone. And to know that that many people are reading it and critiquing it before it hits the shelves is a little bit scary. But I would say that was the most surprising to me, just the process in general, which I'm still kind of getting a handle on because
Oh
I've been
yeah.
through three editors since I've been with Penguin, through two books, three editors.
Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, you're getting a crash course.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's funny because there is so many things that are behind the scenes that you just have no clue are
No.
happening.
Hmm.
And but what I do love that you mentioned is like so many people like have their eyes, hands, nose on your book before it even like hits the shelves.
Yeah.
And it really is to publish a book is such a human experience, like for so many people, so many hands are on your story. And I think it's so beautiful. And like, you know, you see in the news like AI,
Yeah.
they're trying to push AI and writing stories through AI, and just like, hell no, it's such a beautiful human experience to produce these stories for the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then the book has heart. I mean, it's got someone's soul on the page. And
Yes.
that's the way I look at it. I can't imagine that it would ever be better through AI.
Oh,
Never. Hell no. We
yeah.
would never get your story
No.
if we had AI. Like we could never. And your story is the story we all need. Speaking of your story, can you tell our listeners what it's about? Because I'm sure they're going to be obsessed with it as soon as they hear.
Okay, yeah, sure. On the Wings of La Noche is about a girl named Noche. She's 17 and she is a science nerd by day. And by night, she is a Lechuza, which is a shapeshifter. She shifts into an owl to escort souls to the afterlife. And her first love, her girlfriend Dante, has died in an accidental drowning while they were out on a trail run. And she went under the water in the winter in Lake Superior and was never found. And she is refusing to deliver her soul to the afterlife. And there are consequences for that she's not aware of because she doesn't have anyone to guide her. She is the first Lechuza of her family, and she's sort of leading by her heart at this point. And then
Mm.
she meets someone else, and grief and new love come together.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. This sounds so cool. Can you tell us
Thank
a
you.
little bit about your inspiration behind this particular book?
Yeah, it's all my grandma Torres, my
Yeah.
Tilly Torres. Yeah. She was a very gifted oral storyteller. She only went to school through the third grade, had to quit school when she was in third grade to help her mother run a boarding house. So she really couldn't read or write. But I I think that really made her what she, just such a magical storyteller orally. And so I would follow her around. I spent a lot of time with her. I would sit at the kitchen table, watch her make tortillas, or just follow her around while she was doing laundry, and she would just tell me all these crazy tales. And if there was a thunderstorm, she would cover the mirrors so that, we wouldn't see our souls and they wouldn't be stolen. And she was very superstitious. And usually her stories were creepy, eerie, scary, but also very sad. So most of the time she would end up crying at the end. And I just wanted to honor her. I feel like she is all over the pages of this book.
Wow.
Mm.
I love
That
that
is
so much. And what a beautiful like way to, yeah, like some of those oral storytelling traditions like die out. And it's such a wonderful thing that you've been able to capture that vivid essence that you grew up hearing and bring it to life in your story. That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
powerful. Is there anything that you would like or wish readers knew before they even opened up the first page of this story?
Well, I've been told that I don't have the best barometer of like what is might be a bit cringy as far as like body horror and things like that
Mm.
because I'm kind of desensitized to it after all the years of being in EMS, but there is a fair amount of that, I would say. So if people, but it's done in a way that's not gratuitous. It lends to the story. It's necessary for the story.
Mm.
Um, and I ease into it, I think. So yeah.
Mm.
And I really liked writing those parts. So
Yeah, I'm sensing maybe a book three where we go a little harder, a little more, who
I've been
knows?
hearing that from people that, yeah,
Think it's time to really dig into the
horror.
creep
Yeah.
and the horror. I think that could be your calling too.
Yeah.
Um, maybe, who knows?
Who
I don't
knows?
know what's in the works for you. We'll get to that in a
Okay.
little bit. But so this is book two. Like, how has the difference been for you publishing, as a debut versus now you're into your sophomore novel? Was there a difference for you between the two?
Yeah. Well, because the first one, I feel like I had all the time in the world to write it. It was just under my own clock. And also, my first one was very autobiographical. I mean, the Turning Point was based off of a real event that happened with Prince, a real concert that happened at the time when I was dancing at the Minnesota Dance Theater and he was rehearsing for Purple Rain above my studio. And I was the one who would sneak up and watch him rehearse and hijack the elevator when he was in it and things like that. And so it was really so much so me on the page, and it just flowed out of me in a way that was different than this book. And
Mm.
plus this a Noche I wrote originally, before I had kids. And so my voice was different in the first draft than it was in the several drafts afterwards. You just see things differently when you become a parent, I think, and or at least I did. And so I would say those are the two biggest differences. Yeah.
Mm. I was dying to ask you more about that dancing story, but you filled in the gaps for me.
Oh, yeah.
So you actually went up and watched the,
All the time. All the
yeah.
time. And
That's so
sometimes
cool.
sometimes they would let me in to watch because it would be the whole band because he was very obsessed about learning how to pirouette and stuff. Um, and sometimes they would kick me out, but yeah, it just depended on the day.
So, so
That's
cool.
so iconic, though.
That is iconic. And I love
Like,
that you
not
like
many people can say, like, yeah, Prince kicked me out of his like
Uh-huh.
rehearsal session.
I know. Yeah, my
glorious.
sister recently ran into, I think it was Wendy, Lisa and Wendy from the Revolution. I don't know if you know any of the band members, but Wendy, she was a member of the Revolution and she was in Amsterdam and my sister ran into her and she was talking about, yeah, when he was rehearsing for Purple Rain, my sister would go up and sneak in and she totally remembered me being there.
Wow.
So
That is
obviously I made an impression.
Yes.
I
yeah.
was only like 12, but I was very young.
Oh, cool. Oh my gosh. That is so freaking iconic. Go get her. I
Good
love it.
memories.
Love it. Oh my
So
gosh. Well,
iconic.
yes,
Yeah.
honestly, I am in awe of you. This is so cool.
Oh,
I wanted to ask, like, what has been the hardest part of your publishing journey so far?
yeah. I would say balancing my time with my family and writing. I mean, not so much like the nuts and bolts of publishing, but I never really anticipated how hard it would be because I've always had a job where I leave the house, and I go do something else somewhere else.
Mm.
Um, but being here, it feels sometimes I'm getting better at it, like I'm ignoring them when I'm really not. I'm working, but it feels like I'm ignoring them. And so it's been hard on both sides, for my husband and my daughter and me to find that balance. And also when I'm really into a scene, especially an emotional scene, and it might take me a couple days to write, I'm so not present in
Hmm.
this world. I'm just not. I'm always kind of staring. My husband will catch me and he'd be like, "You're thinking about that scene, aren't you?" Because I'm working it in my head. And I feel a little bit bad about that because I'm not really here. It's hard for me to just let it go and then enter this world and then sit down 2 hours later and then
Mm.
be back in that world. And so I'm trying to learn how to switch my brain off and on.
Mm. It's
Thank
definitely,
you for saying that because I
yeah.
feel seen because I just had this
Hey.
conversation with my partner actually because
Uh-huh.
he's a gabber. Like if he sees you, he's gonna talk.
I know. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't go to your work and like start talking to you while you're like taking care of a patient or something. It's like the same thing. I mean,
Yeah. But yeah, because you're home and so they're
yeah,
seeing you and they're like, hey, let me tell you
I'm
about this
actually
this
working.
football player. And I'm like, I do not care. I'm trying to be nice, but I don't.
I can care later, but not right now. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you finding the balance? Have you found it yet? Can you tell
Yeah,
us what you're doing?
this basement gave me the balance and my husband was pivotal in that he redid it down here to look like a cabin. So I have like a working gas fireplace and it's all wood walls, beautiful lighting. I have a dartboard so that when I need to like step away from my desk, I can just throw a couple darts. A stand-up sit-down desk. Like this is my space. So
Mm.
when I'm down here and it's daylight so I can walk out a door and be on my deck out in the woods. And so it really feels separate now. When I was in the office upstairs, oh my God, I was just too accessible.
Mm.
And so finding being home, but still finding that separate space. And I know I'm lucky that I have that. I know I'm lucky.
Mm.
But yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was the best
Gosh.
we ever did.
Mm. But that place, like, I know what you mean. It's like when you're in that writing zone and you're up in your head, and even just like a phone call, I get really crabby in that zone. I'm just like, if
Huh?
God forbid the leaf blower starts up outside, I am plotting that guy's death when the leaf blower starts. Because, yeah, we like literally are in a whole other world. And then you get pulled back into the real world. And it's so jarring and you're like, dang it, I almost had that plot hole fixed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also very low. It can be very lonely too. Like I
Yeah.
find that I need socialization after I've been writing really hard for a while because it's very lonely. No one else is going to do it for you. It's just you and your
Hmm.
brain and whatever's going on up in here.
Mm,
So,
that's so true. There's such a fine line between like when you're in your little cozy cabin and you're like, oh my God, I'm a writer, I'm in my forest. And then there's this like sudden moment where you've like, the silence is heavy and you're like,
mhm.
oh my gosh, there's no living soul in this
Yeah.
house right now. And it's
See,
it's definitely a balance, isn't it?
yeah, it is. Yeah,
Mm.
it's difficult.
Love that. Yes, it is. I feel so seen. So thank you.
Hey,
So seen. Thank
I
you.
see
Thank you.
you. I see you both.
Yes. Yes, thank you. What has been the best part of your journey so far?
This definitely meeting other authors, other writers, talking about stuff, being vulnerable with you all. I mean, I think that is I'm finding more and more how important that is to be vulnerable and honest with people who are your people and in the same boat as you are. I
Mm,
mean, the fire service is notoriously horrible at that. You know, we're just taught to just keep everything inside and function and do the job. It's getting better. It's getting better with time, but you know, I've been conditioned for so long to
mm,
not be that way, to be strong and not show any sort of, you know, shortcomings or whatever you want to call them. But I love it when I get to speak to authors about real things and real struggles and
mm,
also just cheering other authors on and celebrating books and, you know, all of that, celebrating all those milestones, celebrating getting agents, celebrating signing a contract or even like doing a panel, um, all those things. Because again, this is so solitary normally. And
mm.
so this makes it worth it to me. I mean, it
Yeah.
really does. The readers and meeting other authors. Yeah.
Yes, I love that, and I completely agree. What do you think fills your creative well? How do you pour back in?
Yeah. Sometimes I just have to step away from things like
Mm,
when I get developmental edits and some of my writer friends think I'm nuts, but I don't open it for like a week. Even though I know I'm going to be chasing that deadline down a little bit faster, I don't open it. I just let it sit in my email. I just need to know it's there, you
mm,
know, and that it's waiting for me. But I'm already kind of, the wheels are turning and I'm thinking about it. So a step back for me, but also just being outside. I'm probably in the woods just about every day hiking.
mm,
I like to be by myself with my dog and music. That's another big one for me. If you've read my books, you know music's a huge part of my
mm,
writing. Um, yeah, I listen to music when I write. The lyrics don't bother me at all.
mm.
Sometimes I'll have like the Royal ballet class in the background because you can just boot it up on YouTube and it's live and while they're taking a class and I'll have it behind the screen and I just feel like I'm in the studio. So like maybe dance and stuff like that. Yeah.
I love that. That
Yeah.
is, yeah, that's really, really fun. You can do like a little coffee shop vibe too. If you can't get to the
Totally.
coffee shop, put a little,
Exactly.
yeah.
Just put it on in
I
the
love that.
background. Yeah.
Yeah. That's super fun. Yes, I love that. I love that you use music too, and you can feel it in your stories. So that's beautiful. I want to get to one of our favorite questions, which is
Okay.
looking back at all you've accomplished, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself before you started this journey?
Oh, yeah. Wow. Just to give myself a little bit of grace and not be afraid to make mistakes because in
Mm,
the beginning I am a perfectionist. I know that about myself. I've always been that way. I had high blood pressure as a child. I'm still in a blood pressure study with the University of Minnesota because I was like that 8-year-old with high blood pressure because I was so intense. And so I know. And so just to let myself go, you know, and just write whatever I feel, not worry about what anybody's going to think about it, not worry about the grammar, sentence structure, anything like that. Just get it out on the page, which I accomplish now. Even now, I have to make myself do it. I do writing sprints. You know, I just set a timer for 45 minutes and I do it with other authors, Judy Lynn and Maya Prasad, and I'm missing a couple people. We meet every Thursday via Zoom and we just set a timer and then turn our cameras and mute everything on and off. And then we write for 45 minutes and there's no backwards motion allowed, like no eating, no peeing, no, you know, none of that. It's just getting the words on the page and you can't edit anything. And it's a great way to just let yourself go and not worry about any of those technical things.
mm. I love that so much. No backwards motion allowed. I'm gonna say that to myself next time I'm drafting. And a lot of the times, do you find that even though you thought it was a steaming pile of crap when you wrote it, but you read back and you're like, actually?
Mhm. I know. And, you know, even if you have like 3 paragraphs of crap, there
Yeah.
will be like an idea or a mood or a sentence that will be gold, you know, that you will be like, oh, that made the cut. This is what I was looking for. Or I want I want this chapter to feel like this sentence. So I'm never disappointed with what comes out of those writing sprints.
I love that so
Yes,
much.
yes, I know. Me too. Well, I see our time is dwindling. And I know obviously your book just came out, but what is next for you?
I just turned in my option,
Oh,
before the holidays actually, which, everything shuts down. And then, so I'm waiting to hear back from that, but it was just the first 3 chapters and a synopsis. And it's another contemporary fantasy romance. And it is also inspired by like a Mexican mythology shapeshifter, but it's not an owl. And yeah, and I'm working on a picture book and just kind of, seeing what glimmer I have, like just kind of waiting to see what happens. Yeah. So hopefully my option will be picked up and I'll get to write another
okay.
book. Yeah.
Yes, we need it. So if you give me your publisher's number, I will call them
No.
tonight. I will beg. I will do what I have to do.
Thank you. I'll take it.
Well, honestly, I have just loved chatting with you and getting to know you. I think I could listen to your stories. You're a very fascinating person. I could
Oh,
listen
thank
to your
you.
stories all day, and I am going to need to see a photo of your embalming bottle at some point.
Oh, wait, hang on. Just a second.
Oh,
Yes, my
she's
brain.
got it handy. She's got it handy.
Myself in the basement.
Oh, you
That
need to
is
say
cool.
something so it comes up on screen.
Isn't it cool? So it says champion embalming fluid, perfect cosmetic effect combined with the unsurpassed preservative antiseptic and deodorizing qualities.
What was this used for?
People.
Like
It's
embalming the dead, right?
yes, and it has all the measurements on the side, and yeah, it's super cool. Yeah,
Did
see,
you
it's
Google
all the
it?
little measurements are on the side. So you
Wow,
use like a certain amount of ounces depending on what you're going to embalm. And
that
just
is wild.
I
I
don't
know
know.
it's going to cut us off at any moment, so I don't want us to get cut off and then
Yeah.
we're just gone. But thank you for showing us that.
Thank you. I'm gonna have to Google it now. I'm gonna fall down
You
an
have to.
embalming rabbit hole.
Champion embalming fluid. Champion.
Ooh.
That's the good brand. That's
It's
the
the
good
good
stuff.
brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what all the dead people are using.
Totally. Yeah.
Are you even deceased if you didn't use Champion?
That's another book. I
You're
feel
not
it.
dead until you use champion embalming fluid.
I feel it, Vanessa. That's another book right there for you.